Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and welcome back to another episode of Rob the Mic. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. I know last week we had a little bit of a lapse. There wasn't an episode, and there was too much going on. There's too much going on, y'all. I was trying my best to make it happen, and I did have like a small period of time where I could have recorded something, but it didn't feel right. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the headspace. I feel like I kind of would have just been recording or been making something just to make it, to get it out. And I guess that's okay sometimes, right? Like for content purposes and needing to get stuff out, but that's not what this project is. And I also needed to kind of let go and like surrender to that, because not that this feels like a job, because it's not, but I do like to treat it like a job, right? Like I have to show up on time. I have to do this work. I have to do this, get it out by this time. That way you guys can receive everything, come Thursday, come Friday. But I wasn't there. I wasn't in the space, couldn't do it, couldn't swing it. So I said, you know what? It's cool. I'm going to push this to next week, come back to the game, see what's up, and come back to y'all. And it was funny because I didn't think that, at least at this point, that people would hit me up and be like, yo, where's the episode? What's going on? But I had a couple people reach out to me, and it was funny, like between texts, calls, DMs, and was like, yo, where's the episode? Because there's some avid listeners that will get it like tonight, right? Because every time I record, which is on Wednesdays, the episodes always air Wednesday night. So everyone who's subscribed to either any subscription service, whether it's through Apple, Spotify, on YouTube, anything like that, you're going to get the notification of when the videos release. So usually everything's up and running by like 9 or 10 p.m. at the latest. So there's people who get it then, and then everybody else, when I do the posting, that gets it on Thursday or Friday, things like that. And I didn't think people would care, because I was just like, it's just another thing, no big deal. But it's funny, even if I have a couple people reach out, it's always like, damn, dude, this is a constant reminder. Like this is tight, and again, I appreciate your guys' love and support. It's the reason why I do this. I really do enjoy it, and I want to give you guys the best that I can, the best of myself, and any content that gets created. So thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. And a part of the reason why I couldn't do an episode last week is because I was preparing for a wedding. And it was two of my close friends, Joanna and Sam, that were getting married. And it was a big deal I think for everyone that was involved with the wedding, because they were doing it on February 29th. And for those of you guys who know what February 29th is, it's a leap year. So it was a really, really special day. Just in general, one, to be getting married on a leap year, two, the fact that they're getting married, all kinds of things, right? So just trying to like prepare for that, get everything set up, get everything prepared it was a whole process. It ended up turning out really beautiful. It was a really great day. It was great leading up to it. All good vibes, all good things, which I'm not going to say I was surprised, but I think as a lot of us know who have either had family members get married, whether it's brothers, sisters, friends, anything like that, the wedding process can be kind of stressful, And I think because the wedding itself was so intimate, that's really what made it what it was. And, I got to help them out with their flower arrangements. And I ended up taking pictures of the wedding, which was really, really great. Unexpected, but it was the best unexpected present, even for myself. Like, I felt like it was a gift for me, because I think a lot of the times as creators, we don't really think about the stuff that we're doing. We just kind of go out and we will create something. And we kind of sometimes will like let stuff walk over our heads, like how important it was to be at certain places in time, to be able to catch certain things, to be able to record certain things. And not that I view everything as a job, but I mean, I start to do that, with whether it's my design work, whether it's my, any sort of photo work, cinema, anything like that, because I like to treat it in a professional manner, whatever it is that I'm doing. So I want to create the best. I want to be able to capture the best, do and everything the best of my ability. But in that moment, because it was so last minute, it ended up being one of the most beautiful things that I could have done. And it was so cool because I've always wanted to shoot something like that. Even if it was like brief, just little shots here and there, I've always wanted to shoot something like that. And I was able to do it. And the fact that I was able to do it with my latest camera setup, it was rad. I loved all of it, right? Because those are things I'm never going to forget. I'm never going to forget two of my closest friends getting married. I'm never going to forget that experience, being able to shoot that. And the fact that they bestowed the honor on me, getting to shoot and saying, hey, okay, do what you got to do. And granted, there was some other people there with cameras too. Like another friend of mine, Danny, was there with her camera doing the damn thing. And they had brought a camera too, set it up on a tripod, and we're just kind of like, recording little things, taking pictures here and there. And her little brother, Jonah's little brother, was shooting with that, just kind of trying to capture moments. But it's a really big responsibility to be able to shoot and do certain things, because again, those moments, they're not going to be repeated. It's one thing to set up a couple's shoot and like, hey, we're going to go out to this location, do what we do. That's different. Wedding day stuff, you get one shot. You're lucky if you can redo something. You're so lucky. And a lot of the times, I think especially with the style and how I shoot, is very candid base. I'm not really into the whole structured posing type stuff. And the best shots that I got were, of course, the things that I'm the most comfortable with and the way that I shoot. So again, being able to share what I can do for two close friends, that was a gift in itself. One for them, two for myself. I was very selfish in that moment where I'm like, dude, I love this. This feels like it's for me too. And I felt like I was a part of it. And again, it was a very magical thing. Very, very magical thing. And I'm very, very lucky, very blessed, very fortunate to have been a part of that situation, to have been a part of that marriage, to have been a part of that whole day and the process leading up to it. Even getting invited to the wedding was a big deal for me, because I knew it was going to be very intimate and I had no plans on going. Like, I wasn't even going to ask, like, where's my invitation? Nothing like that, and I play with my homies like that. We all do. That's how we mess around. We talk a lot of shit. But this was that kind of situation. I was like, I'm not going to say anything, whatever pans out. If they decide to invite me or whatever's going on, or if they can, great. Of course, I'll move mountains to be there, whatever's going on. And sure enough, it all panned out, between getting invited to going, just all of it. And I was able to go dressed up the way that I had envisioned it, because I had been planning out the outfit from the moment I got invited. I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to wear. This is what I'm going to do, all these things. So it was cool. I'm glad everything panned out. And again, it was really beautiful. And if they listen to this and or watch this, congratulations, you guys. I love y'all so much. I'm so happy for you guys. And I can't wait to see what the future has for you, because I know it's nothing but beautiful things, and all these amazing memories are going to be made. So I love y'all. And the hard part also about last week, because I figured maybe I can record a podcast like after everything, right? After the wedding, not like on that day, but at least after all these events had transpired. I was like, well, maybe I'll just launch an episode later in the week. That didn't happen, and it wasn't going to happen. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't. I couldn't muster up the strength to do so. I couldn't muster up like just the emotional toll that it was going to take, because unfortunately it took I guess after all those things transpired, like going into the weekend, it took a massive nosedive, and I wasn't ready for that. Caught super off guard. There was some things that were happening leading up to it, but I just I ignored my intuition. I ignored my spidey senses per se, which was stupid of me, because if I would have done certain things, if I would have asked certain questions even early on, all of this could have been avoided. And unfortunately, it unfolded the way that it did. Well, I guess unfortunately and fortunately, it depends how you look at it. I'm sure certain people who are listening to this right now that know the situation, they're probably on the side of fortunately. So for myself, I'm kind of teetering between the two, and I think I go between the two quite a bit, just because of the situation and because of who it's involving and things like that. But yeah, it took a really nasty dive, and I wasn't there. I don't do well. You know what? There's a lot of things I can take, you guys. I can deal with a lot. I can take a lot. I can endure a lot, which is really fucked up. But that's kind of how I've been since I was a kid. I've always had to deal with things. And I always thought, like, I always downplay everything. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but it's actually a massive deal. It's actually a really big problem. And I mean, even in that in itself, like, that's something that I'm also working through in therapy, because I'm still going, I'm still trying to go through my journey and figure things out and understand. But I had hit a certain point with this subject, because it involved being lied to. I couldn't stomach it. It really fucked me up. Like I was not good because that's the one thing. Actually, I'm not gonna say it's the one thing because I do have certain things, but I'd say that's at the fucking top of the list. I don't know if it's number one, but it's definitely in top three. Is like, don't lie to me. Don't ever in your life lie to me. Even if the truth is gonna rip my goddamn heart out and I'm gonna feel like an absolute trash bag after it and because of it, I would much rather take that sort of pain and at least receive the truth than ever have a feeling or have to go through like deceit and have to go through lying because it's just different. It feels so different to me. I don't really know how to explain it. And I'm sure those of you who've had to deal with serious situations regarding, dealing with deceit, with lying, hiding, secrecy, anything like that, you understand what I'm talking about. And for those of you who haven't really experienced things like that, I hope you never do because it's not a cool thing to experience at all. Like it's fucked up when the lie or whatever happens, when it kind of just ruins everything. It takes everything you had in your head, it takes everything you had in your heart, your stomach, your body, everything, and it just kind of twists it and it throws it on its side. And now nothing makes sense. And I was left with having to pick up the pieces and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, honestly, I was so messed up. I was not okay. Like, come Friday, that's when things kind of like revealed themselves. And it's like, damn, dude, what the fuck is going on? What am I doing? And I'm trying so hard in therapy. I'm trying so hard to work on myself and do these things. And then obviously I make certain decisions too. I put myself in certain situations. I understand that. I'm an adult and I accept my fault in it. I know I do have part in the situation because things could have been avoided if I would have decided otherwise. But this is ultimately where it landed me. And it was fucked up. So there was no way I was going to record a podcast like that because it probably would have been really ugly. It wouldn't have been anything positive. It would have been anything good. You guys probably would have saw it on my face. You would have felt it. You would have heard it in my voice. And I'm not okay with that because I'm very expressive, as a lot of you know. Those of you who watch, those of you who know me in person, I'm a very, like, my face says it all. I express a lot with my face. I don't even have to say a damn thing. You look over at me and I'm going to show you exactly how I feel. And I'm not good at it. I'm not good at hiding it. I'm not good at like masking anything. It's just, it is what it is, And I couldn't do it. Couldn't fucking do it. But I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad I didn't try to push myself to make something happen. But Saturday rolled around. Well, actually the rest of Friday, I ended up FaceTiming Albert and I'm like, yo, dude, I'm not good right now. I'm not good. So we start talking. We end up FaceTiming it was actually for quite some time, a couple hours actually, just kind of going through it, talking about all the things. And he's always a good person for me to talk to because he hears me out. He listens, like he'll actively listen to what I'm saying. He'll give me his opinion if I ask him for his opinion, but he knows when it's time. Like he's very good at deciphering whether he can like put in his 2 cents or if it's just like this is a Rob venting sesh, He just wants to talk. So that ended up turning into plans for Saturday because he was like, hey, 1, it sucks that all this is happening right now. 2, I'm glad that we're talking because I was actually going to ask you what you have going on tomorrow. I hadn't made any plans and I didn't want to be home. I wanted to keep busy. I didn't want to sit here and just be sad and fucking crying and going through it. And not that I don't like to do, not that I'm saying no one likes to sit there and cry, but it's like, I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me to sit here and be sad and cry and all that, but I didn't want to do that. This wasn't worth that. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't worth shedding the tears. It wasn't worth going through and putting myself through this sort of pain. So I'm like, fuck this. Yeah. What do you want to do? What's up? We had to go pick up a drill press and I was like, yeah, man, let's run it. Let's go get a drill press and let's kick it. Let's get some grub, whatever. And it was going to be pouring rain too. So I'm like, sick. it adds to the adventure, I get out to Albert's. We're chilling. He's like, all right, bro, let's head out. We go pick up this drill press, end up meeting one of the coolest guys I think I've ever met within like off-roading, truck, anything like that. Hands down. Guy's name was Rich. Honestly, just again, one of the coolest fucking guys I've ever met in my life. All of a sudden, we start joking around. Again, we had just gone to pick up a drill press. That's it. We're supposed to go pick up this tool and go home. We end up kicking it with this dude for a cool minute. We start talking all kinds of stuff. We start talking tooling. We start talking fab. And then he had a really badass Jeep that was just kind of chilling there. We hadn't moved over to it yet, because I think it's inevitable, especially for car guys, anyone who's involved in automotive. There's a car there. Eventually, you're going to gravitate towards that, and that's where the conversation will go. So eventually, we landed on that. We started talking about his Jeep. Turns out he did all the fab on it, did it all at home. That thing was gnarly. It was honestly one of the wildest Jeeps I've seen. And as you guys know from my personal page and from certain adventures I've been on, like I've been around Jeeps quite a bit since Sebastian introduced me to like that whole side. So I've seen some shit out there, but it was nothing like what this dude had. So we start talking, we start going through, he starts showing us everything. And we're like, damn, dude, this thing is so serious. Like it had an Atlas and it just nuts. It was absolutely nuts. I didn't take any pictures of it or anything like that, but if I do find some, or if he and I connect further in the future, which hopefully we will, I'll definitely be shooting that Jeep because goddamn, I think it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And I've seen videos and pictures of it from what he showed us of it getting down on the trails. I think it's no joke. So it's tight. And it was cool to talk with him and just kind of go through that. And honestly, it helped me out a lot. It helped me out a lot because I was able to talk about my work and what I do. And so we started getting into wheeling and talking about Jeeps and all the whole lifestyle, everything about it. And it reminded me and gave me constant like reassurance to continue down this path, to continue doing what I'm doing, right? Because this is what brings me happiness. I put myself in a situation I could have easily said no to Albert and just been like, you know what, dude, I'm just not in the mood. I just can't help you. I'm sorry. But this is what it turned into. I go out to help my brother move a tool. That's a great experience in itself. Build memories that way. We're over here moving this tool in the rain. And then next thing you know, we meet this really cool ass guy, start talking all kinds of, just truck talk, all, off-roading, mainly rock crawling, which is rad because that's what we do. And that was fucking cool too. He was good vibes. He was positive. It was a good dude. So we left there feeling good, went back, get back home. We ended up going on a food adventure to downtown Riverside, which was rad. And the day ended up being so dope. And of course, it had its rough moments where I had to face certain things and deal with certain things. And we were talking about everything under the sun, about stuff that had happened, how I felt about it, why I felt that way. I was talking with him and Yessie. And at the end of the night, it turned into something like when I was driving home, it was kind of all just setting in and it kind of hit me because we go through these moments like Albert and I where we'll talk about everything. We talk about so much that it leaves you thinking for days. And one of the last things that we talked about was just kind of where we're at professionally, career-wise, what we're trying to do, things we're trying to set up. And again, it was just constant reassurance. Like, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to keep doing. The work that I'm doing, whether it's in design, whether it's, any sort of like photo work, any sort of cinema work, things like that. Like, that's where I need to keep my focus. I need to keep on pushing, regardless of the situation, regardless of what happened or what has happened. I need to continue moving forward. My art cannot suffer the consequences. My creativity cannot suffer the consequences of something that somebody else did to me. You know what I mean? And I've done that before. I've definitely fell into these holes. I've gone into this like creative abyss, I guess you can say. Like, I remember, and I'm sure a lot of you guys remember too, and you're probably sick of hearing about it, but whatever, I'm going to bring it up again. It's like after my breakup, when I first started therapy, I was in a nasty hole, super dark. I didn't want to create. I didn't want to do shit, nothing. You couldn't hand me a camera. You couldn't have me do anything. I didn't want to design anything. I didn't want to work, nothing. And it was the worst possible thing for me at that time. And once I got out of that hole, and I remember Albert brings it up too, and he brought it up on Saturday. He was like, dude, I remember what it was like when you came out and you started creating again. And you started posting, you started doing this, started doing that. You were going to events and this and that. You even driving again, all that stuff. And it's true. Once I got back into the groove of things, which took me a while, it took me a couple months to get back. I didn't want to fall back into it right now. It's the last thing that I need. It's the last thing my career needs. Because as a lot of you know who listen and or watch, on my personal page, I'm very active. I try my best to do 3 times a week. And I'm trying to create as much video work as I can, because the feedback on the video, you guys, has been amazing. And thank you for all the love, the comments, the shares, all of it. On the photo work too, same thing. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much, because that exposure is insane and it's working. It's stuff is growing. I'm getting to talk to random people, meet new people, all this type of stuff, because the work is moving, right? The internet's doing its thing, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. The other day, what was it? Monday? Maybe Monday or Sunday. No, I think it was Monday. It turns out there's a photo set I have posted of a Suzuki Samurai. That's like it's all paneled and has like gold leafing, and it's a badass little like lowrider, And turns out like Exhibit liked the photo, like Exhibit, the artist, fucking Pimp My Ride, And I was like, what the fuck? So, because the guy who owns the car had posted a screenshot of it, and I was like, no way. So I go into the likes. I'm like, let me see. And I was like, dude, that's gnarly. Like Exhibit, of all people, like, obviously he likes the vehicle, which is sick, but it's tight that it just so happened to be the photo set that I shot of it, because not for nothing, the photo set's tight. The photos came out really great. And Coco's car is badass. That fucking thing is nuts. When you see it in person, obviously photos don't do it justice, but God, that thing's fucking sick. So I'm glad I was able to create that. And it's tight to get love like that from certain people. Not that it's more important, because obviously love from everybody, support from everybody is important equally across the board. But seeing somebody, that's out in that environment turn around and somehow it comes across their explore page or whatever, that's fucking cool, man. It's really fucking cool. So I'm stoked on that. And again, it's things like that. I'm like, dude, I can't drop the ball now. Not for somebody who willingly and actively made the decision to fuck me off and hurt me. And again, that's a part of what this is about, right? Because it's like when people actively do shit to hurt you and they know what they're doing and they continue to do it anyway, you're actively trying to hurt somebody. That's just my personal opinion. Again, if you know you're doing wrong, it's going to hurt someone, and you continue to do it, you're actively trying to hurt them. It's not even friendly fire or, collateral damage, anything like that. You know what you're doing, and you're going to do something ensuing a certain amount of pain. And that's fucked up. I don't stand for that shit. And I'm not about to let somebody who fucked me off like that, knowing how much love, how much care, how much passion, how much soul I had for that and for them, like you were down to just throw it away like that, like it didn't fucking matter, like I wasn't shit. Cool, that's what's up. How am I gonna let somebody have that sort of power over me and affect my career? So I'm gonna stop all my work and stop everything because I'm fucking sad and I feel this sort of way? Nah, dude, you can miss me with all that shit. Shouts to therapy for helping me get through this type of shit. Because if I didn't have the tools that I have now, I probably would have been in the same situation that I was in the beginning. I would have shut down again. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I wouldn't know how to express myself in any way, in a healthy way. And right now I've been able to turn that energy, turn all that stuff and put it into my work. That way I can give the best of myself to wherever it is that I need to put it. So if it's online, if it's to a client, anything like that, it's the best, And I noticed it even on Sunday because I was editing my homie's wedding photos. And I'm going through the edits and doing this, doing that. And I like to do my stuff in rounds. So usually I'll do like a quick first round where I'll touch all the photos, do what I got to do. I'll step away from it for a little bit, get a clear mind, clear eyes, come back a couple hours later, go back again. And sometimes I do it a few times. I'll do 3-4 rounds once in a while, depending on how deep or how much I want to go. And I think you also have to find that sweet spot, because you can always continue to push the envelope. You can always continue to keep going into the fine details and keep cleaning and keep doing this. And, you have to know when to stop. And even with all of this, like I was able to put my love, my energy, all of everything that I felt, even if it was negative, I was able to turn it into something positive. And I was able to push the edits on these photos and make sure that they were amazing. Because these are memories that the girls are going to have forever, for the rest of their lives. And, I was fortunate enough to shoot and do certain things. So I'm really lucky. I'm really thankful for Joe and Sam for giving me that op. And I'm glad that they liked the photos. And again, it was cool. It was cool. The way everything transpired between the weekend, like like I said, it took a really dark, deep, nasty dive and then slowly started to come up. And then eventually it leveled out, and it was cool. And then come this week, last night was 240 Tuesday. So Zoe hit me up and was like, hey, let's go. And I think he kind of heard it in my voice too, because I wasn't planning on going. I didn't want to be around people, even though I feel like I'm managing, like I'm all right, like I'm not all right. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know if I wanted to be around people. I didn't really want to talk. I didn't really want to do shit. But he's like, nah, bro, like, let's go, let's go. Just come to my house at 7 and we'll dip out. Sure enough. So I get to his house after 7. We head out. We start talking about stuff. And it was good for me to get out. It was good for me to get out. I'm glad I got to see some of the homies and just kind of walk around a little bit, get some fresh air, because I needed it. I needed to think. And walking around looking at cars that, some of them I've already seen, some of them I haven't. But I think just kind of walking around and doing stuff like that, it lets me get out of my head. It lets me get out of my head for a little bit. And getting to like look at stuff, it helps me process thoughts. It's kind of like talking out loud. Like it helps you process what you're doing. I think kind of taking my mind out of where it was and putting it somewhere else, it let me process things in a different way. So that was cool. But it's ultimately the weekend and last night and the conversations had, it's kind of what led me on to, I guess, the focus of the podcast, which I'm sure a lot of you are kind of already catching on. It's like the subject of essentially being lied to and like how you deal with that. Because I think that's something that we kind of discuss sometimes, like with people, but it kind of gets walked over. How do you deal with being lied to? What are some of the processes? What are some of the subjects? Like, what's up? Because it's so big, it's so vast. Dealing with deceit, dealing with all kinds of stuff, right? Like you hear about people getting cheated on, and you don't really hear about the aftermath. Like, what does it take? What do you have to do for yourself? What do you do in a situation between you and the other person? All kinds of stuff. I'm not saying that I was cheated on, but I'm just giving you guys an example. But it's, again, I think the subject of being lied to, it doesn't really get, I guess, like you don't really jump into it too much. People don't really think about it. And it's like, well, how do you break it down? So I figured I'd take some notes, I'd figure some stuff out, I'd formulate a couple things. That way I can come to you guys, talk to you guys about it, and at least have some shit we can dive into, And the first thing I want to touch on, which I think is really important, is rebuilding trust with you and the other party, whoever that party may be, whether it's a friend, whether it's a relationship, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever. I think, sometimes even coworkers, family, all that stuff. There's so many ways, right? Trust can be broken in a relationship, whatever it may be, romantic, platonic, anything like that. But I think with this, I was like, okay, I got to think of some techniques. I got to think of some things to dive into within these subjects. So within rebuilding trust, one of the first things I want to touch with you guys is open and honest communication, which we talk about a lot on this show, to the point where I'm sure some people are even tired about hearing about it. But you know what? If this is your first episode, you can get a little treat, because we're going to jump into it again. But briefly, though, we're not going to go too crazy. But I think the first thing with that is you want to do open and honest communication. You know what I mean? Foster a safe environment with this person that you guys can talk honestly and openly about anything of what's happened, whether it's between the situation that transpired or anything that's happened in the past, things that you guys just want to talk about. You want to make sure to create a safe environment to do so. Because when people feel safe, it's easier for your lips to move. It's easier for your heart to open up, for your soul to feel what's going on, because you already know you're not going to be judged. It's not going to be held against you. So let's really talk about it. Don't just sit here and judge me. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I'm listening. I'm actively listening to what you have to say. So let's get into it, and encourage dialogue where when you feel like, just to go through your feelings, to feel them, whether it's concern, you want to talk about your expectations, and that you can openly share them with your partner without any sort of judgment. Because I think when, again, creating that safe environment encourages dialogue, it encourages conversation. It's the other way around, when you kind of don't, and you feel defensive and you feel this, you feel that, you don't really say anything. You feel like the moment you say something, you're going to get judged for it. You're going to get chewed up. You're going to get spit out. And it's like, oh man, no, it's bad. Because you're having to go through landmines within conversations. And it's the last thing you want to do. I think especially in a romantic sense, you need to keep these doors open all the time. All the time. I'm no therapist. I'm not a couples therapist. So obviously this is not clinical advice. But from my personal experience, these things are key. And you always hear it, right? Oh, communication. Well, it's the fucking truth. I don't know how else to tell you guys. But again, not just communication, but how you communicate, the space in which you communicate, and how safe it is, and how loving, how caring, how nurturing that space is. Because when you have that, it's easier. It's easier, and it pushes you both to be more open, to be more honest, to feel safe, because you guys are kind of going down the cavern together. You know what I mean? And to also be transparent about things that have happened in the past, to be transparent about your intentions, about future commitments, and how all of those things can help rebuild trust. Because I think with all of that being said, you're demonstrating a willingness to address these issues head on with the person, whoever the person may be. Again, family, friend, partner, husband, wife, anything like that. Because when you can show the person that you're willing to face these things head on, not just with yourself, but with them, holding their hand, going through this issue, it shows a lot, because a lot of people aren't willing to dive into these things at all. They'd rather not. And it's sad, because it takes a really heavy toll in the relationship, because you never want to talk about the situation at hand. And I know we've discussed that too. There's so much pain that ends up being caused at not wanting to face things head on, or not wanting to talk about the issue, right? Like, you have, how many couples you guys hear about where they'll have a fight, they'll have a problem, and then they just move on as if nothing happened? That's a fucking issue, because it'll happen the first couple of times. You can walk over it and keep going. But when it keeps reoccurring, what is the reoccurring issue, and why aren't we addressing that? Why are we not addressing that? Why is it that every time I do this, you do this, and then we shut down? Or why is it every time you do this, I do this, and then we shut down, right? So it's getting down to the core issue, but setting a safe space where you understand that you're doing it together, and you're walking down the same path, and you're not enemies. You talk to each other. It's you and the person versus the issue, not you and the person versus each other. That's a fucking problem. And that's where a lot of things go south, in my personal opinion. So the next thing I think that's really important to discuss is consistency, and reliability. Why? Because it kind of piggybacks off of what we were just talking about. Consistency, especially because you're showing the person, hey, I want to actively work towards something. I want to actively do this, and you can count on me. I am reliable because of these things, and I will show you that, right? So when you follow through on promises, commitments, things like that, you start to show, right? Your actions are starting to speak louder than your words, because it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to do it, right? Because your actions will always speak louder than your words. So it's essential. It's absolutely essential if you want to align, well, actually to align your behaviors with your intentions, right? That's how you continue moving forward. That's how you continue. You always want to show whether it's yourself or the other person needing to show you, whatever the situation may be, right? Because this can be kind of moved and shifted. It's like Legos. It's can work with anything. But actions are always going to come up, and they're always going to speak louder, right? Because you'll, at this point in time, I think when there's any sort of like lying, deceit, anything going on, there's so much that has to get worked on, right? And the actions do need to speak up. They do. And they need to be consistently met, because that starts to show reliability. It shows consistency. It shows love. It shows passion. It shows care. It shows intent. There's all kinds of things that it shows. But when you start to remove those facts and remove those things, it's like you start to lose your foundation. You don't really have a ground to stand on. And then that's where a lot of things start to become shifty, right? Because when the weight moves over to one side, what do? You topple over. And it's like, well, you didn't build anything. You didn't build a ground for you guys to stand on. How did you expect to hold any weight? There's no way. Because the moment something shifted over, you're going to topple down. And that's what these things do for you. They kind of help you set a ground to walk on, or make a new ground to walk on, right? Because when something goes down, sometimes it breaks the foundation. And it's like, all right, we got to talk to a contractor. And sometimes that contractor is a therapist, right? You got to help me redo the floor, help me redo the foundation, set some new 2x4s, and let's get this back to where we can stand again. Because right now it's like you feel like when you step on something, it's going to break. And that's, y'all don't want that. I've been there. I've done that. I know people who've been there who've done that too. And they will tell you, I will tell you, set a ground to walk on. And these types of things that I'm telling you right now will help you do that. Again, this is not clinical advice. So don't turn around and be like, hey, Rob said this. No. Don't come back at me with that bullshit. Go talk to your therapist. But I do want to help y'all. And again, this show is about me going through certain things and how situations in my life, how I can turn them into like lessons to show you guys and talk about these things with you guys, right? Because they're important. It might apply to you. It might not apply to you. For some of y'all listening, this might be exactly what you needed to hear right now. I'm not sure, but that's my hope. That's my hope, is to like slowly reach people, slowly talk about these things and maybe certain taboo subjects, whatever it may be. But this is a hard one. And again, this is something I just fucking dealt with the other day. And I had to think about it. And honestly, I didn't even want to, like, going through these points, I was like, it was like, you know, like little stabs here and there, because I'm like, God damn it. Like, I know. But again, it's important. It's important for me to talk about. It helps me process, helps y'all process. And it puts us in the boat together, right? Because we're all dealing with something. Everybody has things that they're kind of facing, but this is the thing that I'm dealing with right now. And again, these are just tools to kind of help you guys move through it. And I think one of the other ones I also, not even think, I don't even know why I say I think. The next one I want to talk to you guys about is accountability and transparency. And what's important is to take accountability for past actions and demonstrate commitment to your partner. You want to show them that, like, hey, I'm here. I want to move forward, and everything that's right here, I want you to see it. It's all glass, whatever's going down. If you got questions, ask me, anything like that. Let's go into it. Acknowledge the impact of deception in the relationship. Take responsibility for any harm that's caused. And I think people tend to not do that. Nobody wants to take the blame. No one wants to say, I did this. It's always like, you act like this, you made me do that. Nope, you're already coming at it the wrong way. Accept your fault, accept your things. Like for myself, I had to accept the fact that me making certain decisions put me in certain compromising positions, which then added up to this happening. So I accept my fault. I know what I did wrong. And it's not even really wrong, but it's like, I understand that I put myself in certain situations, again, that were compromising, that left my heart open, that left my soul open. And when I received the damage, I was like, oh God, man, like this could have been avoided. This could have been avoided, but nope, didn't do that. But again, people don't want to take accountability. And how are you supposed to move forward with that if you don't take accountability for what you're doing, or if the other person doesn't take accountability for what they're doing? That's a problem, man. It's a big problem. And I think another one too, just as far as like, I guess touches on like being transparent, is being willing to answer questions, because I think with answering questions, it provides reassurance on you wanting to rebuild trust, you wanting to rebuild things in the relationship and for the relationship, whatever it may be, right? It's just, I know it's tough, y'all. I know it's tough. It is. It's not fun. I don't like it. I haven't liked it. I'll tell you that right now. But I know in the past, I think if you can share your feelings, you can share everything that's happened, actions, anything like that, whether it's uncomfortable, challenging, stuff like that, receiving the truth is always better than things being walked around, you being lied to, having feelings of deceit, or having to deal with that. Because you're like, well, then why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you just tell me? Because all of this could have been avoided. And even for myself, with what just went down, I felt like that. Is this person had multiple opportunities, even last week, before the wedding, multiple opportunities, even the day of the wedding. You could have came clean about stuff. You could have told me about XYZ, whatever the situation is. That way, at least mentally, I kind of know what's up. And I'm like, well, this just goes to show. This goes to show. I mean, one, people don't give a fuck. They will sit out there and do whatever they're doing because it benefits them. And it also shows you, it's like, damn, you really didn't give a fuck to begin with, right? This is how you really felt. This is how you felt. This is what you did. And your actions spoke way louder than your words, because you were telling me one thing, but these actions show otherwise, right? And again, I didn't listen to my spidey senses. I should have known certain things. There was things that I looked, things that I kind of felt. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt bit me in the ass. And look at where the fuck it put me. Then next thing you know, I was over here mad, crying, fucking going over to my boy's house, losing my shit. So it's like I'm the one that ended up losing essentially. I mean, granted, the other person, lost too because they lost your boy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna turn around and toot my own damn horn, but I'm a catch, y'all. I'm a catch. I'm a catch for sure. And I like to tell myself that. It feels weird to say it sometimes, put that energy out there, but I like to believe that I am a catch. I like to believe I'm a good person, that I'm a good partner. I'm just good for people, and I'm like, if you don't want me in your life, then fuck off. Because there's a ton of other people that love me, that fuck with me, that want me in their lives simply for being the person that I am. And if you don't want me, then again, fuck off. Disrespectfully. None of this respectful bullshit. Fuck off. Throw your ass off a cliff or something. I don't give a fuck about that shit. Like, I know that's probably harsh. Y'all probably be like, ooh, that's crazy. He said to jump off a cliff, whatever. Yeah, I don't give a fuck, dude, because people out here hurting people, again, willingly knowing what the fuck they're doing. That's crazy, y'all. You trying to tell me they sat there and they knew what they were doing and they did it anyway? That goes against everything that you said. I thought you said that you cared. I thought you said like this. Again, certain actions maybe spoke louder and you're like, okay, we're heading in a certain direction. It turns out, fucking gonna throw your ass into the cavern. The floor's gonna break out from under you, Wild. Absolutely wild. And with all that being said, again, and I was kind of talking about it, right? Which is kind of like being able to detecting that sort of deception and just kind of exploring the verbals and nonverbal cues of certain things when you notice things like that. And I think a lot of it has to do with like intuition, gut, listening to that stuff. Because maybe you've been through it before. You kind of notice certain behaviors and you're like, that's a little funny. Why are they texting like that? Why are they acting like that? Why are they kind of starting to recluse a little bit? I don't like that. What's up with all this shit? Makes you feel some sort of way, right? So listen to those cues. Take that stuff in because it's weird. It's hard to explain. I've tried to watch so many videos and read things on intuition, on gut feelings, and no one can really explain it. It's just something that we as people have. And when we are connected to people, those connections become stronger. They become more established. And it's almost like you can feel past what the person is showing you because you feel what's going on inside of their heart, what's going on inside their soul, because you're connected that way, right? It's hard to explain. And again, there's things that I was detecting right away. And I was like, man, I should have just fucking listened to myself. I should have just fucking listened. But here goes my dumbass clouded up. And I'm like, nah, benefit of the doubt. And I'm not saying to always listen to that stuff, but I'm saying just to not ignore it, to take it into account. Because I think when you don't and shit goes down, it's like, oh God, this could have been avoided. This could have been avoided, but it's okay. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about, which I feel like is one of the most, actually, it's not the last. I lie to you guys. That's crazy. Damn, we were talking about lying. I'm over here lying to y'all because this isn't the last one. It's one of the last ones. I think there's two things that are really important that I want to end on. And this one is one of the most important because I think it's how you deal with it, right? Which is coping mechanisms. The first thing being expressing your feelings, because the thing is when you can allow yourself to feel and express emotions that come up, anything like sadness, anger, betrayal, you start to acknowledge it. And then that's how you move forward. That's how you get past these things, and I think a lot of people aren't willing to face that. And then that's where you start to hit boulders in the road and you can't move past it because you're not expressing it. You're not acknowledging that. Bottling up emotions, dude, it leads to so much hurt. It leads to stress. It leads to resentment. And you got to let that stuff go. You got to let it out. Whether you feel sad, again, angry, anything, let that shit out. Vent to somebody, a therapist, a friend, family, anybody. Vent, let it out. Don't hold that shit in. Even if it's like ugly when it comes out, you cussing, you going crazy, let it out. That's something, why would you want to keep something like that inside you? Why? That's the last thing you should want to do, right? And also the other thing too, when you verbalize these things, when you start to talk about it, whether you talk about it with yourself, out loud with a therapist, it helps you process it like we've been talking about, right? For myself, going through this weekend, it was helping me process everything. And it's continued, right? Like I will continue doing that as these things go on, as time goes on. I will continue to talk about it and process the emotions differently each and every single day that passes. But it's very important to do so. And the next thing within coping mechanisms, that I think is also important to focus on is practicing self-care. Engage in stuff that makes you happy. It's good for your well-being, whether it's exercise, meditation, spending time with people that you love, that you care for, spending time in nature. Anything, hobbies that bring you joy, Put time into yourself. This is the time that you need it. This is the time that you need it. This isn't the time to just shut down and not do anything. You need the things that make you happy. You need the people that make you happy, because they're the ones that are going to get you out of the hole. Eventually you are ultimately the one that's going to get you out of the hole, but you need these tools to get you through it. And also establish a healthy routine to put you into these things, right? Like maybe start walking every day because you want to start doing that. You need to get out of the house. Okay, boom, you can start doing that in the morning and at night. There you go. You want to start eating healthier at lunchtime. Boom, you're starting to set up a new routine. I'm going to start eating healthier at lunchtime, whatever it may be. That's what's up. Those are good things. That's positive forward movement. Doesn't matter if the steps are small. What matters is that it's positive forward movement. That's what you got to focus on. That's the key right there. For myself, I know that's key. Like I can't drop my routine of posting 3 times a week. I can't drop my creativity. I can't drop my wanting to love and create these sorts of things. Because if I do that, that's going completely adverse to anything that I'm telling you right now, which is an issue, right? I don't want to lose myself again, because I've lost myself before and I know what that was. And also I can kind of reflect on that. I can go back and say, ooh, is this where you want to be? Like, nah, I need to continue on this path. I need to continue what I'm doing. Because this for me is my self-care. It's a part of my self-care routine. I got to do that. I got to look out for me, because at the end of the day, I'm the only one I got. It's like we've talked about before, right? You go to sleep every night. You go to sleep with yourself, regardless if you're next to somebody or not. You're in your head. I have to be okay with who's in my head, because if not, the fuck am I doing? I got to love myself. I got to be here for myself before I can love or be with anybody else, for sure. And I think on top of that, going with that being said, right, with like loving myself before I can be with somebody else, anything like that, I think setting boundaries and reevaluating relationships, evaluate the impact of the deception, of the lie, of anything like that on the relationship. Consider setting boundaries to protect yourself and also to protect the relationship, right? It's like having an honest conversation with the person, whatever's gone down. You need to kind of reestablish things, talk about expectations, talk about boundaries moving forward. Hey, this is how we can move forward. This is how we can build a new ground to walk on. Because if you don't talk about those things, how are you going to know? How's the other person going to know? What, especially with expectations, what are you expecting from here on out? How do we get past this? How do we move past these things, right? And it also helps set up a new level of trustworthiness, which you got to do. Got to build trust. It's because it's going to shift the dynamic of the relationship. Maybe you used to talk to each other a certain way. Maybe you used to feel a certain way, but because of what's gone down, maybe you're a little bit shifty now. Maybe you feel kind of a little bit more on defense, right? That you got to get back to ground zero, square one. That's what you got to do. Surround yourself with supportive people who respect, validate your feelings. Again, this is piggybacking off of what we were just talking about. And also consider seeking professional help. Consider going to therapy. Talk to somebody. Sometimes a mediator is really important. I think a therapist will help walk you through any sort of like complexities with your emotions, with decisions that need to be made, stuff in the relationships. Because it's an unbiased opinion that's there, and they're just trying to help you. That's what they're trying to do. I know my therapist that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to help me. She's trying to help me move forward, give me tools that I need, stuff to walk, so I can keep going. That I don't fall back into these holes, And the last one is moving forward. That's the last big thing I want to talk to you guys about, because there's so much within it. And the things that I wanted to speak to you guys on about that is self-reflection and acceptance, seeking support and connection, and then a little bit back on setting boundaries and prioritizing your self-care. Because I think when you take the time to reflect and understand your emotions, your thoughts, anything like that, it lets you know how you feel. And again, feel your feelings. When you stop that, you can't walk forward. There's no way. There's no way, because you're not willing to process. You're not willing to face it. And facing it is the one thing that you actually need to do. That's what's going to help you move forward the most. And accept those feelings, acknowledge them, whatever it may be, recognize them, walk next to them and say, okay, cool. I am angry. I am upset. I'm pissed. I feel this. I feel hurt. I feel lied to. I feel just cheated. I feel fucked off. Cool. There you go. You acknowledge them. You realize it. You see it. Now let's walk. Let's keep it walking. And reflecting on the lessons that you learn in the relationships and the situations and how it can contribute to your personal growth too. How does it make you stronger? What do you know now that you wouldn't allow anymore? What did you allow this time that you would never allow again? That type of stuff, right? Again, looking back and trying to turn everything into a lesson. That's what it is. Looking back and turning things into lessons. It's really important to do. And embracing some sort of like self-compassion and forgiveness, you know, for anything that you've gone through, things that maybe you've done to people, things that people have put you through, situations that could have been avoided, anything like that. You know, be compassionate with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Forgive yourself for certain things and just kind of move forward. It's a part of the game. It's a part of the game, especially within love. You know, you got to gamble, you got to mess around. Somebody's going to get hurt. Things are going to happen. It's inevitable. Not all the time, but it doesn't mean that you can't come back from hurt. It's not what I'm saying. But you have to be able to embrace those sorts of things, you know? And when you're seeking support in the connection, I think it's important to reach out to your friends, family, anything like that. If you have a therapist, reach out to your therapist. Talk about this stuff, right? You need to have a support system. You need to. And they help you process your emotions, you know, gain perspective, especially, right? How many times have we talked about perspective on this show? The perspective is everything. It can humble you. It can sit your ass down so you can say, oh shit, okay, I didn't think about it like that. And when you share anything that's happened with people who you trust, it can provide a lot for you. It can provide a lot. I know it's provided a lot for me. It's provided validation. It's provided comfort, a sense of connection with these people. And I think even with that sense of connection, right, you can even mention briefly, you talk about trauma bonding, right? If someone you know has gone through something similar, you talk about it with them, you guys are going to bond over that. You guys will understand each other more. Say, oh, okay, I get it. Things like that, they matter. You know, and it's also important at the same time to engage in meaningful social activities, you know, cultivate good things, cultivate good relationships, good standings with people, especially after a situation where you've been lied to or you've been having to deal with deceit, things like that. You want to find things and find people and believe in people again. And when you do stuff like this, it helps you get there. It helps you take those steps to be able to move forward, because that we get stuck. I think especially after situations like that, you get kind of stuck. You start to lose faith. You start to have all kinds of doubt, and that's the last thing you need to do. You need to do the absolute opposite thing, which is to find people who you trust, find people who you love, and stay with them, right? And again, touching on the setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care, you know, establish boundaries to protect yourself always. And identify triggers too. Identify triggers, identify situations, identify anything like that, because when you can kind of when you recognize those things, it's just little flags that go off and you're like, oh, okay, I don't like where this is headed. I don't like how this conversation is going. I don't like how I feel in this type of thing when you say something like this. Anything, right? Triggers can be vast. They can be people, it can be places, it can be things, it can be situations, it can be words, all that stuff. Anything can be a trigger, but it's you recognizing it and knowing. It's that feeling of familiarity, and it kind of goes with that gut, right? Goes with your gut, goes with your intuition. You're like, ooh, I don't like what's happening. How do we get out of this? And you go forward from there. And again, constantly engage in things that make you happy. You guys, that's what you need to do. Prioritize self-care, especially after the fact. Like right now, that's my main priority. I need to find out what makes me happy, why it makes me happy, and continue to do that. Why does it feed my soul? Why does it make me feel good? Okay, let's continue walking forward with that. That's where it's at. That's how I feel. That's what I need. And recognizing it and understanding it, that's the most important thing for me right now. Self-care is number one. And I'm also trying to practice compassion, which I think we need to do as well as people. You know, practice compassion, prioritize your needs, because it helps you just grow in a healthy way. You don't want these types of things to eat you up and take you out, because they will. They could put you in a dark place, and I don't ever want to go back. I know, will I experience pain in this life again? Of course. Will I experience hurt? Of course. Hopefully I'm not lied to again in a situation like that. Hopefully I don't face this type of deceit. But, I don't know. I don't know if I will, but I'll tell you right now, if I do, at least now I have an understanding and I have tools and I know what to do and how to do it. It might not feel like it at the moment, but I know with time, after I do some reflecting and do these types of things and think about it, talk about it with people around me. If I'm in therapy at the time, maybe I'll talk to my therapist, however. But I have the tools, I have the know-how. And that's what's important, is having the know-how, having the understanding, and pushing forward with that. Because if you don't have it and you don't have the tools, you're like, what the fuck do I do? And that's how these things don't get recognized. That's how these situations keep coming up. Because you, in a weird way, you put yourself back into them. And that's what you don't want to do, right? If you can recognize situations, if you allow your intuition to talk to you, your gut, you feel these things, you recognize your triggers, you know what's up, and you're like, this is happening again. Okay, nope. And you shut it down. So again, this is the stuff that I go through and the stuff that I deal with. I want to talk to you guys so that y'all have the tools in those situations. And again, whether this situation, is for you right now, I don't know. But you could always come back to it. Oh, Rob was talking about this one thing this one time. I got to go listen to this episode. I don't remember what episode maybe, but I know it was this one and it was around this time and he was talking about lying and all this stuff. Boom. There you go. That's what this is. Now you have an archive of tools. You get the, what do you call it? The spark notes. You get the spark notes on what's going down. So, again, I appreciate y'all. And another thing too is just kind of finding meaning after everything. Finding meaning and finding and understanding yourself, loving yourself, knowing what you need, recognizing that, and continuing on a path that is moving you forward. But it's really hard sometimes to find meaning after it all. And I know for myself, having gone through certain things, it's a little easier to kind of stay afloat, but it sucks to have to keep doing it. And I do, in the moments, I do have to find meaning again, even if it's for a little while. I have to go back into the hole, understand, okay, and then I slowly start to walk back up, And I was trying to think of some advice based on everything. So remember, being lied to doesn't define your worth or your future. Life goes on, and you have the power to shape it into something authentic and meaningful, free from the burden of deception. Once again, remember, being lied to doesn't define your worth or your future. Life goes on, and you have the power to shape it into something authentic and meaningful, free from the burden of deception. That's what you guys need. That's what we all need. We need to understand that what happens doesn't define us. It's okay. It's a situation. It's life, right? It doesn't mean this is what your life is going to be like from now on. It means that this is a situation that you're dealing with right now. And it will clean itself up. Everything will work out. Things will fall into place. And when you can have these tools and you can do these things, it allows you to move forward in a certain way that you can lead and live a life without these types of pains. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys like this episode. If there's anything you guys want me to touch on for next week, if there's things you guys want me to talk about, topics, anything, it doesn't have to be super deep stuff like this. It can be on anything. If y'all want me to talk about food, run it up. Let's talk about food. You want me to talk about car stuff? Bring it up. Shoot me a message, shoot me a text. However, again, I want you guys to be and feel like this is a safe space. Let's talk about it. I want to be more active with you guys. I want to bring in more topics from you guys. It's important to do that. I want to feel like you guys feel comfortable enough to do that. Because some of you guys do. Some of y'all reach out and say, hey, you know what? Can you talk about this? Don't necessarily say it was for me or whatever, but just can you talk about this subject? Because I'm curious what your thoughts are. Say, all right, for sure. And sometimes I work those things in. I don't always mention it, but again, to those people, when I talk about it on the episodes, they already recognize that. And they say, all right, cool. And I want to do that more and more and more. And hopefully I can continue doing that in the future. But thank you guys for tuning in again. I hope you guys like this episode. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week, an incredible weekend. And I will catch you guys on the next one.